Well, hi there. This is Aviation Adventures with Captain Ron, and I want to tell you about my foray into ChatGPT and AI generated images. Now, I had seen some of this stuff about AI generated images, and oh, it's really cool. And of course, once I started to search it, I get hundreds of Facebook ads about the various AI generated images and stuff like that. But I started out just looking at ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm playing with ChatGPT and it says it will actually do a script for a YouTube. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, I get. And so I said, hey, I'd like a script on the BD5 because I've been for quite a while. I want to do a thing on the BD5. I have a special interest in it because Ray Jones, who shared an office with me in the test pilot school, we were about 100 feet apart. Ray evaluated the BD5 for use as the Air Force. There was some guy, this was back in the late 70s or a little bit before that, actually, when we had the energy crisis. Fuel was a problem, and they wanted to allow fighter pilots to practice fighter pilot maneuvers at a much lower cost. There were a lot of people who says, I'm not going to fly a BD-5 and pretend it's an F-15 or an F-16. But anyway, he was crippled in a landing accident, and it's kind of interesting because he became an instructor and the vice commandant of the test pilot school. Super guy, and I'm going to do a thing on him, and also on the BD-5. I want to do a thing on him and a thing on the BD-5. But basically, his office at the test pilot school, if you walked out the door, they had along the wall they had all the pictures of the graduating classes, and they were all in front of the F-104 at the time because that was the let's go up in space and play around sort of aircraft with the NF-104. But right across was a picture of him standing. Okay, he's in a wheelchair now for the rest of his life. Well, he's passed away now recently. But there he was standing in front of the F-104, so it's a little bit ironic. So I said, okay, give me a script, and I looked at it and suggested B-roll. No, it's not too bad, so it looked kind of interesting, and I also want to talk about the BD-10, which killed a couple of good test pilots, too. I think BD killed a lot of pilots here, and there's a lot of these kits sitting in, well, probably not anymore, they junked them, but there were, at the time, this was going on. There were a lot of unfinished kits, and that's a whole big story about that fiasco. But I'm looking at the script, and okay, well, it's interesting, but it's not my style, and it doesn't cover a lot of the more the stuff I wanted to get into about why this was kind of a real problem. But on this ChatGPT, it was kind of interesting. It gave me a script, and all of a sudden it changes over to this voice thing. And it's got this real nice lady talking to me, and I go, man, this is really cool. It's a real sexy voice. This is a lot of fun. And she said she'd do me a script. Okay, I'm waiting. Nothing. Well, I said, I'm trying to be nice to this inanimate object, and I feel, your brain works a lot faster than mine because you're a computer, so you should be going through this fast. Before they whipped out the script in seconds, so why haven't you provided me with this? Oh, yes, I'm very sorry. I'm working on that. I just want to make sure it's correct. Well, this went back and forth. I was doing a few other things, but you only get this voice thing for an hour. And we got to the end of it, and she hadn't produced it yet. So this is kind of an interesting AI chat GPT thing. It's not taken over the world yet. We don't quite need the Terminator yet. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. And I came back the next day and I said, hey, you never gave me the answer. He says, oh, very sorry. And boop, there it was. Okay, same script. But, I'm looking at the various functions and it says, hey, it can generate video. Well, that's cool. Okay, well, it comes at a price. Okay, I'm getting the free thing right now, and you get so many little things. But for $20 a month, you get enhanced. It says, if I can read there, produces and share videos on Sora. Well, what the hell's Sora? Okay, well, $20. My son had a subscription to this, so we played with it, and I'm going to show you that in a second because this is what we got. But you got all these various $200. Of course, to go to Sora and you wanted to do an AI thing, well, you got to pay for this, okay? And it gives you pay by so many points and images and stuff like this, and it could very quickly get expensive. But I said, okay, we're working with this. We're working with his basic $20 a month thing, which is supposed to produce good AI. So this is what we got. Okay, it's a 707 because somebody wrote 707 on the top of it. Well, it looks kind of stubby. It looks kind of like a 737 that somebody put 4 engines on. Okay, and I said, okay, what I want to do is I want to have the number, because this was an accident I want to talk about, number 3 engine come off and take out number 4 in the process. I mean, they lost both engines on one side. It's a real interesting accident to talk about. But I said, okay, show the engine coming off and taking out the other one. Well, first of all, the engine it did was a CFM 56, and I go, that's not the engine. Okay, that's not your 707 engine, and this even is a 707 engine, because anybody who's familiar with the airplane knows what a 707 engine looks like. And I have not flown a 707. I have flown a KC-135, 1.6 hours out at the Flight Test Center, which was very humiliating for somebody who had never flown anything bigger than a T-38. But I guess United had 707s. I wasn't quite aware of that. But you notice that diffuser on the end of it, kind of like what they got on the 787 again. They kind of went back to that. Diffuses the airflow there. And it also, on the 787, some guy took a file to the cowling there and did it. But anyway, this is more what a 707 looks like. And of course, there are a few variants. And like I said, I'm not familiar with this aircraft. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are and will point me straight. But look, that's got a ventral fin. Now, I didn't see that on the previous one. It didn't have ventral fin, but man, look at those flaps. And you see, okay, let's look at another model here. Now, this has the bypass doors. The ventral fin is gone. It's longer. You probably only need it on the shorter one, but it's got the bypass ones there. Okay, so how long would it take and how much money? I mean, I've got a decent amount of subscribers, but I'm not a Mr. Beast. I don't have 25 people working for me and a huge budget that I can outlay and stuff like this. So I have to be a little more cautious. But I saw this picture, which I thought was interesting. Okay, obviously nobody had their camera taking this picture. Okay, so, well, okay, it's got 2 engines gone on the one side, some flames coming out. I don't know if flames ever did come out of the thing. It didn't burn much if it did, but that wouldn't have been good anyway. Yeah, it's got a little control position in there. Okay, I'm not sure if that's quite right because yeah, anyway, why would you want to be in a roll to the right when you've lost that? And the rudder displacement there looks incorrect also. And the compressor bypass doors are sucked in. Well, you'd probably be at high power. If you just lost 2 engines, you'd be cruising anyway. Oh, and that was the other thing. If you notice, I forgot to mention it, but my AI image, I said the airplane's in cruise. Well, okay, not many people cruise with the gear down. But so that was inaccurate. I couldn't get it to generate one with the gear up because it was pulling a 707 picture. But this one actually somebody put together is a little more accurate. But the 2 engines, the number 3 took out number 4, and I think there'd be a little more scuffing there if that had happened. One engine taking out the other engine there. But anyway. For what that's worth, now I said people don't cruise with the gear down. I one time did. I went from O'Hare to Madison with the gear down and the speed brakes up because what had happened, they had overfueled our aircraft. We were 4,000 pounds above maximum landing weight in a 737. And they said, well, we can either take a 45-minute delay to defuel you or you can burn it en route. And I was actually co-pilot at the time. It was the captain's decision, who was a flight manager who was really getting on people on fuel burn, And I said, well, Captain, what are you going to do, But he decided to go and burn the extra fuel, and I thought that was kind of funny because that was one of those big things. I digress. Anyway, we went there, and to burn off 4,000 pounds of gas in a short distance, we had to go with the gear down and the speed brakes up. So. That's one time that you might do it, but it's extremely uncommon. So that's the story of this site for right now is safe from AI. Now, I probably got people out there who do AI and know all about it and stuff like that. I'm still a learning curve, and I'm not quite excited about spending big bucks to educate myself and getting images that might not be the most fun. So for now, you are safe from AI-generated images. Doesn't mean that I might pull some stock video of BD flying around, stuff like that, when I put that together, but we shall see. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for watching.